The following podcast contains spoilers for Mowgli and Apostle. You have been warned.
What is going on, everybody? It is Glenn here at Keystone Film Review, here with the man, the legend, and the myth. If you wrap it all together, his name is Miguel me gusto.
I was telling people about that earlier today. How you call me Miguel Magusto. It's the only time I've ever had a nickname that I liked.
Michael, I like.
Or I think it says Mike. It means Michael, my friend.
Hey,
But,
I mean,
don't know.
one way or another.
Someone told me that. Someone more worldly than I am, and
Worldly.
yeah, you gotta trust him. Although who knows anymore.
Right.
Anyway, Glenn, how are you?
I'm not too shabby. Sitting here with a LaCroix, sipping on it. And
Oh, that's super fancy. I don't got nothing to drink. I don't got nothing to drink, none bits.
it's all right. You got air. Eventually that turns into water, I think.
I don't think that's how it works, but
Well, I failed science once, so here we
anyway.
are.
So let's get into it. Have you seen any movies since the last time we spoke, which was Sunday this time, so it's only been a few days.
Yeah, you're a little jokester. I didn't see anything other than our recommended movies.
Oh, well, I'm not surprised at all. But because we usually when I see things, like we record these on Fridays typically, and then I see like a shit ton of movies on the weekends, and then I maybe see one during the week.
That would be you.
I only saw one during the week this time, and that was Green Book, directed by Peter Farrelly.
I'm so jealous.
Starring Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali, which is by far my favorite name in the entire world.
Mahershala Ali.
Mahershala Ali. It just flows so well. But yeah, I really like that. It's kind of I wouldn't be surprised if it gets nominated for some Oscars. It's a feel good movie. It's not amazing, but it's just a good movie overall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed it thoroughly. But that's all we have. For anyone that sat through our rants of the Golden Globes and the Haunting of Hill House last week, we appreciate you.
We really upped it last week, and this week we're sitting here twiddling our thumbs, thinking how cool we were back in the past.
Oh, we were
back
so
in high
cool.
school and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness!
But let's just jump on into it, shall we?
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure. So, what's the first movie we saw, Glenn?
The first movie we saw was Mowgli, which I recommended. Legend of the Jungle.
I only heard stories about the jungle. I lived in a king's palace in a cage just like this. I bit and I scratched and I spent my entire life fighting. Until one day, I just stopped. And I gained their trust. Gained their trust, little brother. The jungle is no longer safe for you. You must stay in the village. It will be all right, little brother. When I found you, all those seasons ago, I thought I could teach you how to belong. But I was wrong, Mowgli. How you've grown.
Directed by Anthony. I almost said Anthony Scorsese. Let's let that sit there for a second, okay?
Anthony Scorsese.
Anthony Scorsese. Directed by Andy Serkis, starring Christian Bale, Kate Blanchett, Benedict Cumberbatch, and who's the kid? Rohan Chand.
Yeah, Rohan Chand.
Rohan Chand. And the synopsis from IMDb here says, a human child raised by wolves must face against a menacing tiger named Shere Khan, as well as his own origins. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess so. You're right.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
This story might seem a little familiar to people. I think we've had at least 3 movies that I can think of based on this same book. Do you know what that is, Glenn?
Well, it could be a forest paperback or...
Wrong, it's Wuthering Heights.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, I'm looking it up now. Yeah, you seem to be right. You are correct.
It's The Jungle Book, of course.
Wow.
Written by Rudyard Kipling, I believe his name is. It's a book from the late 1800s, turned into a famous Disney cartoon, as we all know. There was a TV movie in the 90s, which only I seem to remember, where Mowgli was older. Yeah, Mowgli was older. He was in his 20s or something. Wow. And they used real animals, and it was a live action. Then, of course, there's the Jon Favreau from 2016, the Jon Favreau film with Ben Kingsley, Bill Murray, Scarlett Johansson, a bunch of other people. And then there's this one. So I don't know about you, but I feel like this story's been done too many times.
It's been Dune. Dune done, did. Yeah. Dat,
Not only has it been done a few times, but they still have yet to get Baloo right when it comes to the book.
Yeah. I haven't read the book, so I can't comment too much on that.
I've read it a little bit. I read the synopsis and the Spark Notes just for discussions and everything.
Yeah.
But he is a sloth bear, which is one of the most adorable bears in the world. It will gut you if it comes to it, but it is adorable and acts like a puppy. And Baloo's supposed to be a sloth bear, and he never is, because I guess they just don't trust Americans to know what a sloth bear is. And who really cares?
It looks like a big brown bear, okay?
Yeah. Sloth bears are only about 5 feet tall, but it just bothers me. But they still don't got him right.
I remember at one point John Goodman played a Baloo, I think, in the second Jungle Book movie from Disney.
Did he?
I think so. That's who I originally thought did the voice acting for the first one for the longest time, when I was but a wee pup of the age of...
that was in the 70s. I think you're a liar, Glenn.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. He was in Blues Brothers. Is that what you mean? Blues Brothers 2000.
No, Jungle Book 2, John Goodman Baloo interview.
What year was that? Oh, yeah. 2003. Yeah.
Joke's on you, friend. I know more about movies than you.
But
that's
really,
a wrap, everybody. I'm the host of KFR from now on.
Hey, we're both hosts. So I guess John Goodman was Baloo.
Look at that.
Haley Joel Osment was Mowgli. I guess that was at the height of his fame.
Pretty much.
But anyway, we're not here to talk about this one. We're here to talk about Andy Serkis's Mowgli. What'd you think of it, Glenn, overall?
Overall, you basically just said it in the last little bit, but I think overall it's been done too many times, and overall I feel like this one really doesn't have too much else to offer. It's done a little bit differently from the animated and the live action versions of Disney's. Mm-hmm. But we're still stuck with the same story. There's not too much new added here.
Yeah. I would have loved the Jon Favreau version if they didn't have musical numbers. If they just cut out the music altogether.
Are you musicals asking Disney to do that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Musical numbers fit for cartoons when you do live action versions and you're trying to be grittier, because the Jon Favreau version, while not as gritty as this, was grittier than the cartoon version. And it just... when they had the musical numbers, it just kind of ruined it.
Oh, yeah.
And took me out of it. So I definitely appreciated that in this version, that they didn't have any musical numbers. This was more, while not 100% authentic to the book, was closer to it.
Yeah. One thing this is totally my opinion, definitely would have helped make this movie a little bit better. And it's basically the only thing I'd really think of, during the whole movie. I'm like, oh man, this movie would be so much better if it was actually rated R.
100% agree. Granted, the book is supposed to be a kid's book, but kids in the 1800s were were ballers and could handle violence and stuff.
They could handle.
Nowadays, they have to have
death.
they have to have everything sheltered from them.
But oh my goodness, like you're given it in little bits and tastes. But if they played it safe with the PG-13, so pretty much everybody could see it.
And I mean, if I'm honest, I understand why they did. This would not have had nearly as much, news around it, and it doesn't even have that much talk around it in general, just because we had one in 2016.
Yeah.
But which I found out this was actually greenlit before the 2016 version.
Yeah, they found out that one was being made, and they pushed this one back.
Yeah, well, they found out it was being made. Not only that, but then Disney rushed theirs in order to beat out the release of this.
That's messed up.
Yeah, Disney's fucking fuckery, man. But the kid that plays Mowgli, Rohan Chand, he is in one of my favorite movies from a few years back called Bad Words. I don't know if you remember that movie.
Oh, is that him?
With Jason Bateman.
Yeah.
He's the spelling bee.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even recognize him with really long hair.
And he does he's pretty good in this,
Yeah.
I mean, he's the titular character, and he holds his own against. While it is motion capture, you can definitely see the performances from Christian Bale, Benedict Cumberbatch, Kate Blanchett, and Andy Serkis. You definitely see their performances more than you would in a normal one, especially in this one, because they kind of leave facial features in the characters, which is weird at times, but then you kind of get used to it, and it becomes it feels more natural after a while.
Yeah, I was gonna note on that the motion capture seemed. I'm assuming they obviously did them on the actors, but they were so similar to the animals, or like the actors in the animals.
Yeah.
Like I saw Shere Khan's, or Shere Khan, however you want to pronounce it, Shere Khan's. I was like, that is Benedict Cumberbatch's head so hard.
I knew that with Christian Bale as Bagheera. Like when they saw him, I was like, oh, that voice sounds familiar in the trailer. That voice sounds familiar. Then they show his face. I'm like, oh, it's Christian Bale.
Fun fact was, Kira didn't know he was actually English.
What?
I was like, oh, he's actually using his normal voice. She's like, that's his normal voice? I was like, yeah, he's English. She's like,
has she not seen The Prestige?
I don't think so.
Has she not seen Empire of the Sun?
I don't think so.
Has she not seen like any of his other movies where he's English?
I don't think she's seen movies. I think she's...
Break up with her right now. Kira,
Kira?
you and Glenn are through.
Kira, I gotta tell you something.
No, it's it's a decent movie. It's a valiant effort, especially by Andy Serkis, who's trying to get into directing. This is his second movie behind 2017's Breathe, which I didn't see. It does look interesting, but I didn't get around to seeing that. And it's just, I could take it or leave it.
Well, I think I didn't even comment on Rohan's performance. I liked him. I don't want to make this like a comparison of Jungle Book 2016 versus Mowgli.
I mean, you kind of have to.
You kind of have to.
Because there's so many people shitting on it just because it is really close to that. But, in my opinion, if people weren't making that comparison already, I wouldn't really care. But people are saying, oh, they're making another one, and then saying that this is a worse version because of that. Yeah. When, I mean, there are two different variations of it. They're different enough where it doesn't feel like the Jungle Book. I mean, it is the Jungle Book, but it doesn't feel like the Jungle Book. And
yeah, I definitely liked Rohan's grittier look instead of the other kids. He looks so much more innocent.
Neil Sethi, I think his name is. I did a comparison of all the characters that cross over. Neil Sethi, who played Mowgli in the Jon Favreau version, he just seemed like his super Disney-fied version of a feral child, which is what Mowgli is. Mowgli is a feral child, and I feel like people often forget that because, he's speaking. And which is, to add, when he goes into the village in this one, I was really glad that they didn't just have him speaking to the villagers, because I feel like if Disney did that, they would have done that, where he just spoke to people.
Hi.
Yeah, exactly.
This bear just taught me perfect English, even though we speak a completely different language altogether.
Exactly. I think Christian Bale was Bagheera in this one. Ben Kingsley was Bagheera, and Jon Favreau. You know, Ben Kingsley did a great job in The Jungle Book 2016. Oh, yeah. I think I like Christian Bale's version more. I don't know. There's just it feels like a more complex presence than just Ben Kingsley being the archetypical protector. You know what I mean? Like there's a part in this version where you feel like Bagheera might actually hurt Mowgli, which you never felt in either Jungle Book version. So you know, I would have to chalk that up for Christian Bale. Kate Blanchett played Kaa. Scarlett Johansson played Kaa in this 2016 version.
They mainly got Scarlett Johansson because her sweet and sensual voice.
Yeah, I was going to say, I actually wrote down Scarlett Johansson was a sexier snake.
Yeah, she was.
But not only in voice. She, like, it just sounded like... And that kind of fits for the character of Kaa, because it's like...
Hypnotizing.
Hypnotizing. And I think Kate Blanchett played a different type of Kaa. It didn't quite... It seemed more intelligent, but not quite as hypnotizing.
Yeah, it was... Kaa knew... Well, I guess they both, but the Kaa knows everything, and they played the more intelligent card in this one than, I'm going to hypnotize you.
Yeah. And then you have Andy Serkis versus Bill Murray for Baloo.
Mm-hmm. Or Bill Murray as Bill Murray.
Bill Murray as Bill Murray, and he doesn't play anything else. And then they're too different to compare, really. Andy Serkis is like a Cockney drug addict bear. And then Bill Murray's just kind of what Disney would want Baloo to be.
Pretty much.
And then Benedict Cumberbatch versus Idris Elba for Shere Khan. That one is a tough one, honestly.
That is a tough one. Because just, they both are just, they show their presence.
Yes.
Very hard.
They steal the scene in every single scene they're in. I
feel like the appearance of Shere Khan looked more terrifying in the Jungle Book 2016.
I would agree.
I think the claw was messing me up in Mowgli.
That is that's from the book.
Yeah.
Which is why they're doing this. It's actually the first time that they actually have Shere Khan have that. One thing I did think it was funny when Mowgli decides to go and fight or face Shere Khan.
Yeah.
He goes, Khan.
Yes. Like in
Star Trek.
For you.
Yeah, Star Trek Into Darkness when Benedict Cumberbatch played Khan, and you had Spock yelling that.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
I also think they morphed the tiger's head to shape Benedict Cumberbatch's head a little too much.
Yeah, a lot of
alien-like.
Yeah, a lot of the other characters, they just did the eyes.
Yeah.
I think they did more than just the eyes for Bagheera with Christian Bale, because his really looks like his face.
Yeah.
But it's more natural than Benedict Cumberbatch as a tiger.
Just a long head.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sit here and bash Benny Cumby here.
Benny Cumby. But yeah, there's a lot of positives and a lot of negatives that could be said. A lot of people are shitting on this movie more so than I think it deserves.
Yeah, especially when it comes to the kind of grittier sequences of the movie.
Yeah, I think you and I had already talked about it. A lot of people are just kind of shrugging it off because it's not their super happy... I mean, not that it's super happy, but it's not their typical Jungle Book movie with singing and dancing.
People, there's a little bit of death in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, there's death in the other ones too, but like this is like...
They show a little bit more.
Yeah. I wrote down the Aquila death scene is more powerful in this one, but I honestly cannot remember it.
I can't either.
Aquila is like the lead wolf. I think they do that thing where you...
No, I think it was... I think it was more impactful in 2016's because I didn't see that shit coming at all.
Honestly, I don't remember either. I don't know why I wrote that, but I think I might have meant. I think I might have meant. In
2016's Idris Elba's Shere Khan just like fucking whaps him off a cliff. I'm like, whoa, what?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think I meant Shere Khan.
Yeah.
Just because.
Okay.
And well, the thing that I kind of didn't like about it, in this one, as you know, Shere Khan gets like fucked up, but he's not dead. Then he goes into the woods to die, and you have that thing that's brought up earlier about being with what you kill as it dies, so it doesn't die alone. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a super impactful, callback to something that happened earlier when Mowgli followed Shere Khan into the woods and then did that. And then they completely ruined it by having Shere Khan try to attack one more time.
They completely 180'd it.
Yeah, and it just kind of it became hypocritical in a way because I thought like I love movies that I don't want to say humanize because it's a tiger, but
there's another word there that I can't think of.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it humanizes the villain. It brings the villain down to the hero's level. There's an understanding. Something that does a movie that does that great is Black Panther, where at the end where Michael B. Jordan's character dies, it's just. There's just an understanding between them. It's not a happy celebration. It's not something to be celebrated. It's another loss of life, and they become, I don't want to say one and the same, but there's an understanding at the end.
There's a connection there.
Exactly. And when you can have the hero and the villain connect on a realistic level, I think you've wrote your characters great. And honestly, I thought they did that for the 15, 20 seconds that you think that's going to happen. And then they completely ruined it with Shere Khan jumping back up, doing the whole horror movie trope where it comes back alive after you think it's dead. And
which is quite a shame, honestly.
Yeah, I thought it was perfect without that. And then they go ahead and ruin that.
I think we covered everything on my notes, really.
Yeah, I really don't have much to say. It's me with mediocre movies. I have less to say about mediocre movies than I do bad movies or really good movies.
What's funny is literally all my notes were pretty much everything you said in the beginning. So I don't have too much.
You can always cut me off and chime in, so I'm not just saying everything.
No, it's cool. I was gonna say this isn't a prequel. This isn't a sequel. It's not something weird in between. This is Andy Serkis's second time directing.
Yeah.
All of them English voice actors.
Yeah.
And then
now, would you say you like it? Which one would you say you like better? We're going to completely ignore the cartoon because it's a classic. We're going to completely ignore both sequels, the one live action sequel and the Jungle Book 2. We're just talking about 2016 directed by Jon Favreau versus 2018 directed by Andy Serkis.
Now see, this is a pain in the ass because if this would have came down to it where they both actually came out the same year, I feel like this would come down to a judgment of whichever one you see first is the one you're gonna like more.
Yeah, kind of like The Illusionist and The Prestige.
Yeah, or Lock, Stock, and Barrel and
Snatch. Although that's by the same director.
Yeah, I know, but it's still under that like category. Like,
yeah,
I think I'm gonna have to go with unfortunately Disney's. I don't want to say unfortunately, but
yeah,
there was this movie. They were both okay movies, but I had a more fun time with Disney's. Where if this one just had a little bit more oomph, I would have definitely liked this one more. Mm-hmm. But I think overall, Disney's is my go-to. Not that I'm ever gonna watch either of these again, but
yeah, I'd have to agree. I just wish that they took the. I know this will never happen. Yeah, because Disney likes to have its hands on everything. But I wish they took the elements of this one that I liked and mixed it with the quality and the overall film of the Disney 2016 Jon Favreau version.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I'd have to agree. The Disney version is better. This one definitely has its merits. It's definitely worth at least one watch. Like you said, I'll probably never watch it again. But you know,
I'll probably never watch the animated version again either. But hey.
I've never been a huge fan. I saw the Jungle Book once when I was a kid, and I was like, okay, that's fine.
I more or less like the songs than I do the movie.
I don't even like the songs that much. I like Bare Necessities.
The King Louie, I Want to Be Like You.
Okay,
go listen to that one covered by Smash Mouth real quick. Go ahead.
No, thank you.
And then come back to me.
I'm fine, thank you. But yeah, that's all I got to say about Mowgli.
Yeah, same here.
When you were a cub, I looked you in the eye and saw no fear. I believed that one day you would bring peace to the jungle. But you have become a man now, Mowgli.
I'm not a man. But neither am I a wolf.
I think we can both agree, Mowgli, that you are something the jungle has never seen before.
So, that is it for Mowgli. The movie I picked last week is Apostle.
Thomas, your sister, she's gone. These people, they're blasphemers. A cult, a disease. Bring her home.
Name? Thomas Richardson.
I dream of a world in which each waking day we rise equal. This island, it's our paradise. We have an intruder on our land, and we have to find him.
Written and directed by Gareth Evans. I might keep that in. Starring Dan Stevens, Richard Eflin, Michael Sheen, Lucy Boynton, and Bill Milner.
In 1905, a drifter on a dangerous mission to rescue his kidnapped sister tangles with a sinister religious cult on an isolated island.
Ooh.
I went to like straight up pirate voice at the end there.
Isolated island. Yar. So, yeah, I saw this a few months ago when it was released. Directed by Gareth Edwards. Oh my gosh. Gareth Evans. Gareth Edwards is someone completely different.
David.
Gareth Evans, who directed The Raid and The Raid 2. And it's just as gory as you would think if you've seen those movies.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And you said last week that you were having a hard time watching this with your wife lady involved in the room.
Yes, I was.
And I am very glad I watched this by myself, friend. Thank you for that advice.
Is Kira the same way where she does that?
No, I just felt like she would have been uncomfortable if like we were watching it together.
Oh, yeah.
But I watched it regardless because she was going to get home late. I'm like, I'll just watch it.
So I think, first of all, I want to talk about the cinematography.
Before we even talk about that, okay? Hold on to your brain function right there for a second.
Okay.
I think, first off, it's nice to see Dan Stevens where I don't see him as Beast in the Disney's live-action Beauty and the Beast.
Or just a heartthrob. Although he is a heartthrob.
Because I was watching this movie, I'm like, thank God he's in something good that I don't have to look at.
He's a good actor.
Furry.
He just hasn't been.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Anyway, first off, cinematography.
Cinematography by Matt Flannery, who I believe he did the Raid and the Raid 2. He's pretty much the Gareth Evans. I got the name right that time. Gareth Evans go-to phenomenal cinematography. It is absolutely beautiful film. Even if you don't like the subject matter, it's just a great movie to look at.
You're sitting here talking about Dan Stevens being a heartthrob. Talk about this cinematographer right here.
Well, I was going to go back to Dan Stevens because of that. No first shot of a character sums up the character as much as the first shot in this movie of Dan Stevens. He looks absolutely batshit insane the first time you see him.
Had a beard and everything.
He had a beard. He's like tilted his head down. He's just glaring at I believe it's his dad or butler or whatever. He's just glaring at this guy and looks like he's just had enough of the world, and it just sums him up so well. You know exactly the kind of person he is from the very first shot. You know he's gonna kick some ass and take some names, and then kick some names and take some ass.
What's really funny is
I don't know what I meant by that, but I said it. And
my second bullet here is, as an angry-looking guy, I have to say, Dan was a very angry-looking guy. Straight up, I did not want to fuck with him.
Yeah, you and I both have like angry
yeah, we just have resting
faces.
Bitch face all the time.
Yeah, and Dan Stevens,
he straight up looked like he was gonna murder anyone every second of the day.
For real. But yeah, so I don't even know where to begin with this. It's such I personally love this movie. I don't know how you feel about it.
I really enjoyed this movie too, and I'll actually just go into my next bullet and say that this movie has done things that most horror movies, even nowadays, like just can't get right, and like it's the easiest thing in the world to do, and that's like create a very dramatic tension and not have to use jump scares.
Yeah.
Like just loud noises or anything like that. Like there's parts where there's like a character in the background you're not expecting them to be there, and next thing you know, there they are. And like it's really just like it draws you in, because you're like the rest of the movie you're trying to figure out like who else is going to be in the background, instead of like, you know, waiting for that next big scare that's going to happen, instead of just actually being scared of what's going on behind you or them.
And you know, talk about the first shot of Dan Stevens, summing him up. The one of the first interactions he has with a cult member kind of sums up the entire cult real quick too, where I kind of did some thinking about this, and the second time watching it, tried to find logic flaws in the cult. I don't know why. It's just how my brain works. I was looking for, you know, logic flaws. So they're on the boat. The sheep falls and is about to like fall off. Dan Stevens' character saves the sheep, and then one of the other guys on the boat, as they're going to this island to live with the cult, grabs the sheep, throws it off the fucking boat into the ocean, and he says, do not intervene. Oh, I know. Hold on.
Do not intervene with her plan or something like that.
Yeah. Do not intervene. Everything is as she intended. She being the goddess that they worship. The flaw in that is, if everything is as she intended, the sheep falling in front of Dan Stevens and his natural instinct to save it, isn't that part of how she intended everything?
Listen, the only thing that scene intended was me getting fucked up after that scene.
Oh yeah, like, that's a real fucked up. And it's so sad. You feel so bad for the sheep as it floats away, and you hear the bleating, B-L-E-A-T, not B-L-E-E-D. Bleating, like just go off in the distance. But I mean, I'm not saying that to point out a flaw in writing. I think that was an intentional, flaw in the character's thinking. Just to show just how kind of crazy these people are.
Yeah, absolutely.
How they are so willing to believe this system where they do absolutely nothing and don't want to intervene with their plan. And I just thought that was a brilliant touch, you know.
It really just sets the tone so hard for what you're like going to be getting into here.
Yeah.
Once they get off this boat.
The entire running theme of this movie, you know, other than the cult aspect and just the overall disturbing nature of it, is really, I might be overthinking this, so stop me if it seems like I'm overthinking this.
Man, Do you think conspiracy theories just happen? No, bring them on. Bring them on.
So upon second viewing, this became very clear that the entire movie is kind of about how, when given the chance, man will enslave God. Mm-hmm. Or if given the chance, not when. If given the chance, man will enslave God if they can for their own personal gain. And it's really, the entire thing is just about how terrible people are. And I love movies like that because I tend to think people are terrible.
People are the worst, Michael.
Yeah.
They are the literal worst.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I follow that. Definitely agree with you, 100%. Yeah. People are shit. This movie does a very good job of showing that, and especially with the whole capturing the goddess and all that.
Yeah, I'm hoping everyone that's listening to this has seen the movie. But if not, I gave a spoiler warning at the beginning, so you're gonna have to, just deal with this. Essentially, they found the three main people of this cult found this goddess who, when fed blood, whether it be animal or human or whatever, lets crops thrive. And eventually things stopped working, so they kind of just enslaved her in this shed, and she's tied down to this bed with branches and roots and stuff, and she's their slave, essentially. She's their slave. She's there. Mm-hmm. All she does is lay there. They come by and feed her blood, and it's...
They try to get it to flourish more, and it's...
Yeah, and it's overall not working because I guess the goddess has had enough, or it's just not working anymore. But that's kind of what drives the whole plot, is they're trying to get money from this ransom of Dan Stevens' character's sister, and it creates so many disturbing elements. There's this one shot where you see her on the bed. You see Michael Sheen's character, who's the cult leader, cut his hand and feed her his blood. Everything around her turns green. And then there's this weird, Silent Hill-like creature with, roots over his face, just dragging a body. And it turns with him, and as it turns, it goes to the brightest green and then dies just as quickly as it grew. Mm-hmm. And this movie is brilliant in that it shows and tells so much with just single shots.
It really does.
It happens more than once too. It happens so many times, and it also gives just enough information to keep you intrigued, but also does not ruin the mystery of what's going on too.
Yeah, it keeps you kind of on your toes. What you think is going on, and what you should feel, what you want to get, what you want to theorize, like you're doing right now. Mm-hmm. And here we are. Yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Even me trying to explain this in my head is just it's not gonna come out right, even if I try.
Yeah, I'm doing the best I can, and it's still a struggle.
I mean, in a way, I guess the crops aren't working, because I guess you could kind of see that as they want it to, but they don't 100% believe in the goddess or whatever. So that's why the crops aren't working. I feel they're just oh,
interesting.
We took you over, I don't even know if that made sense, but
where before it was more reverent, and now they're just expecting it. So
so they're expecting it now, and now they have the power over her having power.
Yeah.
What?
I get that, and it's kind of I don't know. It's kind of how much is the person going to do if you're going to enslave them, or I don't even know. But that's a real interesting thought. I never thought of that.
I literally just thought of it. I'm sitting here looking at a still frame of the movie. I'm here's some shower thoughts.
Nothing wrong with that. This movie has a lot of fucked up sequences, by the way. When Dan Stevens is doing some recon, I guess is what you would call it, where he's like sneaking around the town at night, which is forbidden, trying to find out more about what's going on. He finds his way. Every night, the entire town picks someone in their household to fill a cup of blood, and then they pour it down sewers for the goddess to eat. So I guess she's not pinned down to the table now that I'm thinking about it. But there's a scene where he's in the blood tunnel trying to hide from people, like just up to his head in blood.
Well, is she pinned down to the tunnel, or can she just show herself whenever she wants?
But I think she can. Oh, you know what? That's what it is. She can show herself whenever she wants, because only Dan Stevens sees her, but no one else does.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good point. That good catch there. I thought there was a flaw, but there isn't. There is no flaw in this movie.
I thought about it because in the sewer, she kind of just pops up, and I was like,
But that sequence is made of nightmares.
Yeah, dude.
He's up to his neck in blood, and then there's this crazy looking old lady.
Like
he doesn't know she's a goddess.
Like, there's nobody else can get in there.
Yeah, and she's like coming after him, and it's just terrifying. It makes my blood crawl. And then there's they have this torture device. Well, it's not a torture device. It's an execution device. It doesn't torture people. It straight up kills them.
Oh, what is it called?
The Heathen Stand.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is real, but essentially they pin you down, tie you down to this table. And as I'm Googling it now, the first thing that comes up is apostle. So I'm guessing that fucking Gareth Edwards came up with it.
Gareth Evans.
Oh my God, Gareth Evans. he invented it for this movie. But they pin you down, and there's a screw with a giant circular. No, what's that called?
It's
saw.
It's like a drill bit.
It's like a giant. It's a giant drill bit that cuts out the top of your skull. And Jesus Christ,
what did they call it? The cleansing or something like that?
The purification, I think.
That's it. That is a messed up scene because it feels like something that's taken out of medieval times. Like they did that crazy shit in executions back then.
Yeah, really. And I don't know how you feel about POV shots where like you're seeing from the eyes of the character
or the vagina.
Or the vagina cam. But typically speaking, I hate them. I think I go to see a movie. This is why I didn't like Hardcore Henry. Yeah. I go to see a movie as a fly on the wall. I don't go to be part of the movie. If I wanted to be part of the movie, I would just play video games because they'd be better and longer and you'd be more immersed. Yeah, which is what my whole problem with Hardcore Henry is. It kind of gets rid of the whole idea of,
it depends how it's done, and in this movie, it's done.
It's only done once in this, and that's when they are tying or I guess pressing. What's the guy's name? Jeremy. They're clamping Jeremy down, and he's looking at. I think it's Dan Stevens' character and Lucy Boynton's character who he's befriended, and as his head is being put into place, it's forced to turn, and you just kind of see it's kind of like a winding clock where his head moves a little bit every so often, and then you hear this crack noise, and you see the vein. You can. It's like you're him, and you see the blood burst out of the veins in the eyes. And I've never seen a POV shot like that. Where it makes you feel like you're being pinned down to that table.
Yeah, and man, it's a messed up scene.
It really shows you how crazy it is, and I've said it before. I think that's what this movie does really well, is just showing you just how insane this world is and how insane all the characters are. And it does a good job at showing you who the good characters are too, because it humanizes them.
Yeah, I mean, I still haven't gotten over that scene, and we just talked about it, and now I'm still here shaking in my boots. I don't want to ever be purified. Ever.
Nor do I. It's But yeah, I think it's a really solid movie. You could definitely tell when I first watched it, I didn't know that Gareth Evans, not Edwards, Evans, directed it. And then I found out later, and then watching it again, it's completely obvious that he directed it because it's just like the fight sequences are exactly his style.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, it's really nice to see Michael. I almost said Charlie Sheen earlier, but it's really good to see Michael Sheen in like a more serious role instead of like the rom-coms that I've seen him in.
Yeah, he's in a really good movie. Well, there's a movie with the same name that came out this year, but he's in a really good movie called Beautiful Boy, where he plays the father of a kid that shot up a school. Mm-hmm. And that's a really wonderful. I mean, not in like a fun way, but it's a wonderful movie, and it's super emotional, and he's fantastic in it. And Maria Bello plays his wife, and there's just a great kind of tension between them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. He's great when he does get the chance to shine in a drama.
Yeah, because all I've ever really seen him in is in like rom-coms or something. So it was absolutely nice to see him as like a cult leader. Like that's kind of out of your way. And
Yeah,
it was awesome.
Absolutely. If I had to nitpick about things here, in the end, when Dan Stevens' character finally saves his sister, the entire island's blowing up. He decides he's been injured too much. He knows he's gonna die, so he decides to just die on the island. And they have this quick scene where it feels like I should feel more for it.
Yeah.
But they really just rushed the whole brother-sister relationship and kind of made it more implied than they should have. And I wish that they had done more, whether through flashbacks or, showing the sister side of the story more, because you don't really see much of the sister.
Yeah, you don't really care for her too much. I don't want to say care, but like obviously you're in this because he cares.
And then you don't really care when she's sad that she's saying goodbye to her brother. You're sad that the brother's staying and dying because he's a badass and you've come to know him over the past 2 hours, but you don't really care how she feels about it. Mm-hmm. As terrible as that sounds, it's just the way it is. When the way movies are made, you either care for someone or you don't. It's a fictional movie, so I don't feel bad about it. So I just kind of wish they grew that relationship more and made it more, heightened of a scene than just, oh yeah, it's brother and sister saying goodbye. That's just sad in real life, so it should be sad now.
Yeah, if they maybe went another maybe 15 more minutes of screen time together and going through something, I feel like it definitely would have made a bigger impact. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're pretty much right about that. You don't really... You're led to believe that you feel like you care about this whole relationship, and then when it finally happens, you're like, I just care about that dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's awesome. And also, the scene... so when he announces that he himself was a priest, they kind of do this cool, silence thing where... He went to Japan to teach them Christianity?
No, it was China. It was actually...
Was it? Oh, yeah, it was China.
It's actually based on a real thing called the Boxer Rebellions.
Yeah.
Of course, your boy with the history lesson coming in.
There he is.
It's...
Gareth Edwards.
The Boxer Rebellion. What he was talking about specifically was the Battle of Peking. And essentially, it's kind of like what happened in silence in Japan just a few centuries later, where people were just rising up against Christian missionaries and also just the government, in general.
Oh, yeah, I had subtitles on it. They did pop up that said Mandarin. So now I just look stupid as shit.
It's all right. Yeah. But yeah, it's I thought that was a really cool sequence, especially when they just, when he's telling the story, they just show a close-up of his eye at the time, and you're not sure if they're going to show anything more. And then it just yanks him out of it and jumps into that sequence, and I really enjoyed that.
That was a nice scene to help build his character more.
Yeah. That's all I got to say. You got anything else?
Yeah, pretty much. That's really it. I think overall I did really enjoy the story. I thought the acting was great, and I thought the tension was definitely there that most horror movies don't have. But I couldn't help feel like this movie needed something just a little bit more. And
yeah, to take it over the edge.
Yeah, and it just needed to be really good to be freaking excellent.
Yeah.
It just needed that push. And it was something. It might have been the whole brother-sister connection at the end, but...
Yeah, I feel like that would have had more emotional weight to it if they added that. So I'd agree.
There's something that needed to be there, but overall, I really enjoyed this movie.
Mm-hmm. And that is Apostle.
Mm-hmm.
Your eyes. They've seen things. Who are you?
He shall be cleansed according to the edict of this land.
The promise of the divine is but an illusion. God is pain. God is suffering. Beware false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves.
Let us begin.
So, Glenn, last week we added... What movie did we add? The Hunt. I almost forgot.
Hunt.
We added The Hunt. So there are now 4 movies in our list, which you can see on my Letterboxd account, my KFR. But let's get into Mowgli. Do you think Mowgli should go on the shelf? Do you think it is worthy?
No.
I'd agree.
That was maybe too hard of a no. No, it's a good first watch, but it's not one you want to put on a shelf and show off to people.
Exactly. I agree 100%. So let's go into Apostle. I don't really want to waste any more time. Well, not waste time. Again, we're being too hard on it. But
no, we're being way too hard on it. It's a good one watch, and then that's it. That's
it
really
is frustratingly mediocre, if that makes sense. Where like it's good. It could be better, and you could see how it could be better.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Apostle.
Talk about Apostle. This one might actually be the hardest judgment for me. But maybe you should go first. I'll let you go first.
So, I really enjoy this movie. I understand it is a topic or a subject matter or just a genre most people won't like. It's kind of like a horror, but it's not as... This is going to sound mean. Good horror movies aren't liked by horror fans for whatever reason. I don't know why.
It's true, though.
But yeah, like they like the schlocky ones for some reason. I don't know. I don't understand why. And this is a good movie with horror elements. I wouldn't consider it a horror movie, but I really enjoyed it. I think there's enough there to merit it going on the shelf. Mm-hmm. So I would say, I really enjoyed it. It's just, I understand it's not for everyone, but this movie is for me, and it's the kind of movie I like talking about. So that is why I'm saying yes to putting it on the shelf.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes, I understand your merits for wanting it to be on the shelf.
Fuck you.
No, you're exactly right. I think this movie, just for the fact alone that this movie isn't really a horror movie, but it did many things that horror movies still somehow can't get right today. Yeah. I think that alone puts a spot on the shelf for me. And then on top of it, you got a great story. You've got great acting You got great cinematography. You've got pretty much the whole shebang. There's just one thing missing in there that needed to be there, but overall, it was. You got your bang for your buck, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
We both know what I'm saying. Yeah, that bad boy's on the shelf.
That boy's on the shelf? Cool.
That bad boy's on the shelf.
We got another shelf boy.
Another one.
Another shelf boy. So yeah, Mowgli does not make it onto the shelf, but Apostle does. So now we got 5 movies on the shelf. We got 6 episodes, 5 movies. The first episode didn't really count because there's just a bunch of bullshit.
There's just a lot of talking.
So yeah, 5 for 5, even though not all the episodes garnered one. So what movie is going to be your choice for next week, Glenn?
Well, strap in, my friend. Or strap on. I don't know what you're into, but here we go.
Okay, so I'm strapped in.
Since we will be missing next week's podcast.
Oh yes, we will. We are taking a week off for Crimbus, also known as Christmas. So we will be taking we're missing a Monday.
Yeah, we're missing one. We're just missing a podcast. So in 2 weeks, we will have a podcast. But until then, we will be celebrating Christmas. And I feel like the best movie to celebrate that adventurous holiday is to watch The Christmas Chronicles, which has freaking Kurt Russell as Santa.
I was going to pick that last week, but I decided not to.
I'm glad you didn't. Because I saw it after I watched Apostle and was like, you goddamn right. I'm going to watch some Kurt Russell in a beard with a hat that's made of red.
That movie is going to either make me very happy or very sad. I cannot tell yet.
I can't tell either. The story of a sister and brother, Kate and Teddy Pierce, whose Christmas Eve plan to catch Santa Claus on camera turns into an unexpected journey that most kids could only dream about.
Ooh.
What's funny is I saw the trailer for this and I didn't realize this is what this was. So now I'm a little less hyped, to be honest. But it's got Kurt Russell as Santa Claus.
That's why I'm saying it's going to make me sad or happy. I can't tell. So that is on Netflix. I believe it's a Netflix original. Mm-hmm. And luckily for everyone at home, my movie is also a Netflix movie. I don't know. It's not a Netflix original, but it's on Netflix.
I'm pretty sure it's a Netflix original.
It's not.
Really?
Yeah, it was released in theaters before it was on Netflix. But this movie, I wanted to see while it was in theaters, but it only ever came to Philly, and it was at a really bad time that I couldn't really make it out to Philly. It's called The Endless.
The Endless.
And it is directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, and starring Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson. You know, they switched it there. As kids, they escaped a UFO death cult. Now, 2 adult brothers seek answers after an old videotape surfaces that brings them back to where they began.
Interesting.
So we're going really black and white here. We're going with a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And a movie about
I'm just trying to brighten up the day, and you're trying to get us freaking invaded.
So the Christmas Chronicles, or just Christmas Chronicles, what is it?
The Christmas Chronicles.
Okay. So the Christmas Chronicles and The Endless are our 2 films for next week. Be sure to watch them before next week, or 2 weeks from now, so we don't spoil them for you. As always, you can follow us on Facebook. On Facebook, it's Keystone Film Review. Also on Instagram, Keystone_film_review. And then on Letterboxd, I am Mike KFR.
I am Glenn KFR.
And that will do it for this week. We have watched 2 movies. Next, in 2 weeks, we will watch 2 more movies. Merry Crimbus, everybody. And Happy Chanukah.
Don't forget the Kwanzas.
And Kwanzas. And there's other happy holidays. You know.
Happy holidays. From us to you.
Why do people bitch about that? It's so much easier than...
Do you realize we live on Earth?
Oh, touche. Touche.
Yes.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.